Today is Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. So we have taken some very cool steps forward, although there's nothing to really talk about just yet. But internally, there's been a lot of really good movement. And part of the process of developing a musical is like pumping yourself up and keeping yourself going so that you know that something is going to happen, and just willing it into existence a little bit and making sure your energy remains high, because the road to Broadway is a long road. And it's very easy to just want to be like, oh, I'm just going to scroll through TikTok today, or I'm going to go do something else, or become a real estate agent, or whatever it is. I've done all of those things, by the way, or thought about them. So you have to keep your energy up. So you look for these little wins that sometimes aren't things we can put in a press release, or they're not things that are even massive. They're just little tiny things. So we've had some good tiny things happen. Our authors, I unleashed them onto social media, and they are doing what exactly I knew they would, making me laugh and making other people laugh. And so much of why we brought them on, David Rossmer and Steve Rosen, was because of the humor I saw in them when they were doing these like crazy little off-Broadway or off-Broadway shows. And I wanted to take that essence and put it on a big stage. And ironically, to help with the marketing of the big Broadway show, I've asked them to go back into a little screen and do what they do best. And I'm having so much fun just watching what they're doing. And I'm sure other people are as well. And that's great. Again, no big domino there, but slowly over time, hopefully people fall in love with them, as I have, and then they'll be interested in seeing what they've written for the stage. So since our last checkpoint, we've had a lot of movement in the casting front. And by movement, there's nothing I can tell you right now, except to say there's a lot of interest and bubbles going on right now in the world. Like when you cast a Broadway show and you're looking for some names, and we're looking for all different types of names, right? We're looking for great actors, great performers, all of that. But certainly you cast the net very wide. Especially in today's world, we need to look at all different types of people so that we can mitigate the risk for a brand new musical, right? So we throw a big net out in the casting world, and we actually ask our casting person to say, like, check the availability for all these people, or anyone that you think is interested. Because often the casting directors will say, here's a list of people for potential Clarks, for potential Rusties, for potential Cousin Eddies. Like, here's a crazy list. What I love about what casting directors do is they think big and small. Like, they go all over people you've never heard of to the biggest celebrities in the world. And they just go, here you go. Here's to a lot of people who we think would be amazing at Clark. And then we sort of sift through it. Right, the authors, the director, Donna Feore, and we like look through it to see like who is interesting to us, who is unique. Oh my gosh, that actor, I saw them in a crazy little off-Broadway thing, and they'd be very cool. Let's talk to them. Oh, that giant celebrity, they want to do a Broadway show? We don't know, but maybe it's worth an ask. So we go through this, and this is for any show, by the way, not just Vacation. So then we go through that process, and we end up with a shorter list. And then what the casting director does is like go out and check what we call interest and avail. The interest of the actor and the team, agent, manager, all that, in the actor doing this show, and availability. Are they available? Are they doing an off-Broadway show right now? Are they doing a Broadway show right now? Are they doing a film? Are they overseas? Do they want to work at this time? Who knows, right? So we check those interests and avails. And again, the perfect example of a small little thing that keeps us going, like we got something here, we're on the road. We got a very strong response to that checking interest and avails. A lot of people showed genuine interest. Now, will any of those people end up being in the show on Broadway? I don't know. But for us, it was like, ooh, look at this. So then we go to the next step of sort of sorting and filtering and talking to lots of different people, which is fun, shortening the list and getting it down to who will eventually be the cast on Broadway. The great thing about having a casting person is that they haven't been in the room with us every single day, every time we do this. There's total outside perspective. So they think in a much different way, because it's very common to just start thinking about one way. you do a reading with one person, or you do like you have an idea in your mind, there's a movie that the show is based on, right? Like you think about one way and the casting director goes, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna like brush everything off your table and go like, what about this? Or what about this? And again, it just makes you reframe your thought. So looking at anything through a different set of eyes is always so helpful. And it's one of the reasons I love the theater, because it's such a collaborative art form. It's not just me writing a novel or someone painting a painting by themselves. It's all sorts of people saying like, oh, what about a different shade of blue for that painting? Or what about a frame here? What about a different kind of light? It's like all these people, and that different perspective, I think, is what creates very, very unique shows. And unique is what people want to see. If I were to describe the last few months, it would be like a roller coaster of emotion. Because you get excited, something happens, and then you're like frustrated because you want to be in rehearsal right now. Someone has a great idea for the opening of the show or a marketing idea, and you're like, I want to do that right now. And the hardest thing about doing this job and being in the theater for me is that you can't control exactly when you're going to go. To wait for a theater. I've talked about this before, but look, I'm a control freak, like I'm all those things. I'm a business person. Like we want to be able to open my store when I want to open my store. We want to be able to unveil my painting when I have a painting that's done, right? We want to do those things. And the hard part about Broadway and the theater is there are only 41 theaters right now that are available, and many of them are booked. So it's this waiting game. It gets very exciting when you're working on something creative, but then you just want to show it to the world when you got it. I just have to remind myself when I have those moments. So something I spoke to about my daughter the other day, about how there are two different types of the brain. I read this in a book, and there's an upstairs brain and a downstairs. I'm not talking left and right, up and down. And the upstairs brain is the rational, logical part of the brain. And the downstairs brain is the emotion. So over the last several months, that downstairs brain of mine is like, I want to go now, I want to go now. And the upstairs brain is what I have to work on keeping a damper on, that like excitement and frustration. And remember that everything happens when it's supposed to happen. And my upstairs brain keeps telling my downstairs brain, just use this time to make the show even better. What can you do today to get ahead of the game so that you're not going nuts when you're in rehearsal and you haven't done 100 other things that you could have done 6 months to 9 months before? So biggest win for me is we were having an internal debate in this office about the colors for the key art. And I was having that debate with my marketing director, who is you. And this happens a lot on Broadway, whereas like a bunch of very smart people like yourself, we're like in a room and we're talking about this, and it should be this, and we battle back and forth. And what I have tried to do over the years is whenever that happens, sort of stop the argument and go like, hold on a second. I'm not buying a ticket to this show. I'm getting it for free, right? You're not buying a ticket. You're going to come as my guest, right? You work on the show. You're going to see it 100 times. We are not the people to actually chime in so passionately about this decision. Who should chime in about this? The people. They're the ones the art has to actually affect. So one of the best things we did, and one of the biggest wins, is that we put up all these colors and we put it online and we were like, hey, everybody, what do you think? And we got not just A, B, C, D, we got Y, and we went with it. Like there was an sort of overwhelming response to the idea of a blue. And I was like, oh, blue, you know, what I've read and learned, I remember my psychology class when I was at Johns Hopkins, like blue, subconscious, deep, the C, sort of too thoughtful. And I was like, that's not funny. I need it to be bright, red, and funny, and all these things. And someone said, the blue is like the sky, a bright blue sky. And this car is, you have a car and it's on a journey. That's real. There would be a sky over this family. That's the other part of the art that we're working on. It just made more sense than a purple sky, even if the purple was a little more vibrant. So it was not only we locked that blue for the moment, but it also made so much sense to me. And that was a big win. The other big win is that I had a conversation with the theater owners during this period, and it went as well as they could go. I don't have a theater to announce right now, but again, one of these little wins of questions and whens and which theaters and what sizes and and all those things, frankly, are great because I have to answer them, right? I have to know what I'm talking about. And it helps me further refine exactly what I'm looking for. And a very, very successful Broadway producer said to me, you can't just ask for a theater. It's much better to ask for a specific theater, because not only can they focus on which theater, like, oh, okay, and start to think about that theater and what is lined up for it and all those things, but also it just becomes so much more specific and so much more real. And I thought that was fabulous advice. So these questions help me focus that and help me go in and say, right, I'm not targeting a Broadway theater, I'm targeting one of these 2 or 3, which is what we did with A Beautiful Noise. And we ended up exactly where we wanted to be. The decision that has kept me up at night has actually been about the art. I mean, you will know because we just kept delaying and delaying and delaying. I don't feel like I have enough evidence or data to make this decision. And I couldn't make the decision until we said, throw it. I need 100 more people basically to tell me this. As much as I respect you and everyone in this office, I was like, we're too close. We went to the authors, we do all that stuff, but it kept me up at night that we just weren't getting enough opinions. And for me, it wasn't that, it was we weren't getting enough, for lack of a better word, real opinions from the people that matter the most. I've been most impressed by our new casting team. I've given them a very big challenge. And not only have I seen 100 ideas, and several of which would never have crossed my mind. Several have, right? Like that's the thing. But some have been like, oh my gosh, all of us are like, what? And on top of that, as I spoke about, we've got a very good response and fast response. I mean, I'm trying to get ahead of the game. So everything that I do now, I'm trying to look, what can we do and what can we do quick? Broadway shows are like a startup. Startups can't sit back and wait. Startups have to move fast, very fast, especially in casting, because you know what you want fast in casting? No's. You want people to be like, I don't want to do it, 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 because it helps shorten the list. The challenge is, especially with higher profile people for Broadway leads, and I'm not just talking about quote unquote celebrities, I'm talking about Broadway stars, the ones that they're busy people. They've got a lot of shows, a lot of offers, they've got concerts, they've got all sorts of things, right? They can sit back and make cameos, some of them. So like, when we go through this process, if too many of them are like, maybe, like it creates, I'd rather someone just say, this isn't for me, this isn't for me, I'm booked. So we got to move fast, especially in casting, because I never know when that phone is going to ring and I'm going to get that Broadway theater and I want everything lined up. So just sort of getting that fast response, that's been very impressive. And then the really good response has been very exciting. I was literally on the way here right now and got an email saying that someone who I didn't think would be is very interested in the show. And also, which is very important, this person's team is very interested in the show, because that's what you need. So many actors have agents. So many actors have agents and managers who they trust, who they count on. They've handed their career into their hands, right? You better have the support of those people if you want that person to do the job. All it takes is one person to say, this isn't right for you. And more than likely, that actor is going to say, I'm not going to do something that they don't want me to do. My wife is an actress. I know what the words from her manager mean to her. And that's true for all of us. In the next 2 months, I'm looking to have a table read of the show to, number one, look at the current script, because the amazing thing about these authors is that they're constantly tinkering to make it better, constantly. I call them and they're like, oh, we're working on the script together right now. So we'll see where they are, right? This is the advantage we have. I follow this and have studied with this amazing coach named Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. And he has this theory called the gap and the gain, which is, it is very easy for people like me and probably people like you and people like all of you, when you're working towards a goal and you actually get somewhere, to only think about where you haven't gotten to. Dan talks about living in the gap between where I am right now and where I want to be. And that's down. Like in 2 months, I could be saying, oh, we're not on Broadway right now. That would be the gap. He encourages you to flip it and think about the gain. The script is better now. Look at where you've come. Like whatever it is you're trying to do, right? And like for me, golf, I want to be a scratch golfer. It's very easy right now for me to say, you know what? 5 years ago, I set a goal for myself to be a scratch golfer right now, and I'm not. That's the gap. I am a 6.4 handicap, and where I was then was a 20. Look at how far I've come. So in the next couple months, like we're going to talk about the gain of what we've gained in those 2 months. We're going to talk about, wow, look at how much the show has developed since we've had more time. And then the other thing we're going to do, we're going to have people at that table read who have never read it before, who were considering for Broadway. Some of these names that have come back as interested, we're going to put in a room and go like, okay, everybody, how does this alchemy work? Are you more interested now? Are we more interested now? Like, what is it like? So some new people that could do the Broadway production with a new script, and frankly, just getting everyone back in a room. I think a producer's job is to get people in a room. Not only creative team to make something, but also an audience. I got to get them in the room. And if too much time passes, you just got to call everyone and say, we're doing something, get in a room. Everyone gets excited again. So for any producers, writers, whatever, if your project is stalled, just pick up the phone, send an email today, say, hey, everyone, we're having a read through tomorrow. We're doing something tomorrow. Come and do it. Just get everybody in a room. It's the most powerful thing you can do to increase the momentum of your show. What's inspiring me outside of this project right now is how excited people are for Broadway, even though it's going through a very challenging time. Like I just did this presentation on where we are on Broadway, and there were some sobering facts. There's no question it is harder to make a show work financially in 2026 than it has ever been. And yet, people still want to do it. People still want to make it. People still want to invest in it. People still move here to star in Broadway shows. That passion actually, I believe, is stronger than ever, even though the odds are more stacked against all of us. Even the actor doesn't have to produce the show or write the show or raise the money for the show, but the actor knows that they are moving to New York, and even if they land a Broadway musical, the odds are it's going to not run as long as it would have 10 years ago. And they are still getting on that bus, getting on that plane, getting here however they can to do it. And that passion fuels mine, because I feel like it's my responsibility as someone who makes theater to like make more of it for them and for the audience that's also lining up. Listen, I'll read you the text. Last night, I almost bought a loft bed for my daughter from someone in our building. They posted on the bulletin board, like, we're selling our bunk bed. Our 13-year-old doesn't want a loft bed anymore. Well, I have an 8-year-old. She would love a loft bed. So I went up to take a look at it. And afterwards, I got a text. And the text said this. It took me a second to realize that you look familiar. I follow you on Insta. We are obsessed with Broadway. Small world. And that text, we are obsessed with Broadway, will fuel me for weeks. Because I know there is a family in my building not too far away with a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're obsessed with Broadway. That's the future audience. One of them is a dancer, like that's future performers, maybe a future choreographer, who knows? So I'm like, okay, I got to roll up my sleeves and figure out how we not only make this thing survive the next 100 years, but also thrive over the next 100 years.